Now we're live. Hey, everybody, we are live. As what the thing on our screen says, you are live. It's beautiful. Sam will be joining us fairly shortly. But yeah, until then, I'm going to get some links going.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Let's hit the links.
Hit the links. I don't know. How cold is it in Detroit? Here it's like freezing beyond reason.
Yeah, it's like 20 degrees out, but it's never cold enough to stop me from going to links, right? I'll go out there and whack a few balls still.
Yeah. What is this? Sam, he says, sorry, I'll be there in a bit. Take your time, buddy. We're just setting up everything like usual. Although for some reason I can't get my Twitter to roll out. So I think it automatically like posts a link though, doesn't it? When we go live, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't it automatically post to our account? Can anyone confirm or deny that?
Confirmed. We are live.
Confirmed.
And it's on the FFMercs Twitter page.
Beautiful. All right. Well, then I'll just post that and we'll be good. Oh, beautiful. There we go. All right. We're going to wait till Sam gets in here until we start going because there's like a lot of things people want to talk about. The popular topics like Mike Boone and Dion Lewis.
Dion Lewis should not be a popular topic.
Oh, he is.
Bummer.
Well, like here, I posted something yesterday. I said, hold on. I think John disagrees with me on this if I'm not mistaken. You actually like Dion a little bit, right?
No, not really. It's
well, I took a really hard stance against him, and I had to like backtrack because I was like, never start him if it doesn't matter how Derrick Henry is injured. And some guy's like him or Myles Gaskin. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, Dion Lewis. I thought we were talking about people that most would consider for a flex. I didn't. How you in the finals? Is this like
wins? We're gonna go Dion Lewis.
Yeah, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Say it's a deep league, and he made the finals with that. Squad. Or you never know. Injuries really screw you. So, as everyone knows this week. So,
yeah, you couldn't have convinced me that we'd be starting Brashad Perryman and Dion Lewis and Boone in our championship week trying to get a victory. But that's how football works. That's how fantasy works,
Yeah. Well, here, since Dion Lewis is a topic, we'll get to Mike Boone after Sam gets here because that's something that is a little more serious that people need to consider. Where would you rank? Where do you guys have Dion Lewis ranked now that Derrick Henry's out? Because Derrick Henry had a tough matchup in itself. There were some people that considered sitting Derrick Henry because people love to overthink championship week anyway. There was people that actually considered sitting Derrick Henry versus the Saints just because it's the Saints. I would never have done that. But with Dion Lewis, yeah, the Titans like to run the ball. And when he gets so many carries, he has a history of doing well. But, I mean, where do you guys have the line of where you would start Dion Lewis today?
So part of it here is, we've got 3 games out of the way, so the player pool shrinks. So with that being said, he's somewhere in the neighborhood of a kind of a mid RB3 for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's after you take out, Raheem Mostert and Todd Gurley and, everybody who played yesterday. So that's still not a very big jump.
Who would you rather have, him or Boston Scott?
Boston Scott. That was actually what I was just going to say. That's kind of where my line is. Okay. Even though Boston Scott is he's clearly the number 2 and Dion Lewis is seemingly the number 1. I don't think it's going to work out that way, and I don't think that Dion Lewis is necessarily getting a bigger workload than Boston Scott will.
I mean, if you're in a PPR league, it's something to take in consideration. You're moving up maybe just a smidgen, maybe over Boston Scott, but that's where I'm taking Patrick Laird over him. I'm starting, James Conner.
Would you start Kerryon Johnson? Would you start Kerryon over him?
Yeah, I'll take Kerryon. Kerryon, that one's actually a much tougher one for me than Dion Lewis. Suddenly landing in a lead role.
Why is Kerryon even in the game?
Yeah, I don't get it. It makes no sense at all. The same reason why the Vikings shouldn't play Madison is the exact. Well, I guess not the same reason, but there's no reason.
There's no reason to play Kerryon. There's no reason. There's no reason behind this whatsoever, except for the simple fact that he might actually go out there and help us beat the Broncos and get us out of a chance of getting the 3rd or 2nd draft pick. That's all.
I saw your dream scenario of getting the 2nd. You don't need too much to happen, right? You need the Giants to win a couple of games, though, right? You need the Giants to win.
We need the Giants to win one game, the Redskins to win one game, and the Dolphins to win one game. Dolphins play the Bengals. That's an easy win for them. Knock them out. Giants and Redskins play each other. One of them's going to win. And then we just need whoever loses today's game to win next week. Preferably Redskins win today so the Giants can go beat the Eagles after they lose to the Cowboys today. But it's not crazy. It's absolutely not crazy for us to think we get the second pick. But if we get the second pick and we get Chase Young, that sucks for Chase Young because we're a career killer over here.
Going back to the magical Dion Lewis. Dion Lewis or Tariq Cohen?
I've got Cohen. It's a nice matchup for running backs against Kansas City. You're at home, and on top of all that, I mean, it's hard to move the ball with the passing game on Kansas City. So, the kind of the game script looks like a lot of David Montgomery and a lot of Tariq Cohen.
Yeah, so, I mean, honestly, the way we're talking, like the way I already thought is, unless you're in a deep league or you're devastated by injuries, you can't start Dion Lewis. I mean, right. It's very, very unlikely. Like if you have someone that you would normally start, if you had anyone that you were comfortable starting and then this news pops up, you're still going with that other player. The only reason you go in here is if you literally were the dredges, like you start him maybe over if you have Chris Conley, like if you had that in a flex, what would you go there? Because that maybe be the line for wide receiver. Dede Westbrook, Chris Conley, you're still starting Dede, I think, over Dion, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I like Dede. I don't know about Conley so much.
I'm saying I think that's probably the line for Dion where I'd start Dion over him.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's down there quite a bit for me. What do you think, John?
Man, in a PPR, I think I'm still going with Conley. I actually have Conley ranked really close to Dede. So, and part of it is I'm still not convinced that DJ Chark's going to play. I think, if DJ Chark were to play, then that would change things. I think all the Jacksonville wide receivers get bumped down a little bit, but I honestly, the bottom line for me is I don't see Dion Lewis. I don't see his workload really changing all that much, even without Derrick Henry in there. I think you see a committee approach.
No, but
who's his backup?
Curry or what's his name?
Yeah, I saw Mike Clay talking about him a little bit, and I'm like, you know what? He'll probably come in and do some more damage than Dion. To be honest,
that's what I was just about to say. I mean, he's going to be the guy. We're all going to be talking about Dion Lewis, but it's going to be Curry Bilal taking the victory lap over here. I don't know his name.
Yeah, so I mean, for anyone listening here, I mean, you get the idea. We won't talk about him for much longer, but Dion Lewis will. If you have your questions, if you have something serious that you have to, you're considering, those things, like the Chris Conley situation, that's where you got to be. If you're in the dredges and you were banged up by injuries and you have a tough decision to make, ask away. But if it was anyone that you would normally start, Dion Lewis is not in that territory. Hey, look who's here! This guy.
Hi. Yep.
Hey, what's the different background? Where are you, in a closet?
No, I am in my mom's basement.
All right.
That's not a joke.
Is that malarkey and taboo I see back there?
Oh, you got it. You got it.
Malarkey. Nice.
Let's start a game of malarkey, baby.
I see the game of life. I was at Target the other day. They have one is life, but now with crippling debt. That's the name of the variation. That just makes me have anxiety. But we were just talking about Dion Lewis. Did you want to hop on that train at all?
Nope, I'm good.
We have his I think we had the running back line at where did we have the running back line?
Brian Scott.
No, it was below Boston Scott. You don't even know his name. You don't even give him. Well, yeah, I think the wide receiver line was Chris Conley, where you'd consider him, but I think John still had Conley over him. And the running backs, I don't know. I can't remember how low we went, but basically he's unstartable, essentially. Let's hop right into Mr. Boone here. How is anyone here not excited about Boone? I mean, now that Madison has has he been officially ruled out?
No, he's questionable.
Just everyone's jumping on it because they clinched the playoff spot. And
I mean, I doubt he plays. He hasn't practiced all week.
He did practice yesterday, I believe.
No, he did not.
I could have swore I saw that.
He did stuff on the sideline.
Oh, you mean? I mean, he It would have been if you're the Mike Boone owner. I mean, you would rather he not even put on clothes, like That's what I mean. Like them winning, like him showing up for practice was not good news if you're a Boone owner. That's all.
But I don't even know if he practiced. That's what I'm saying.
Huh. Well,
I'm pretty sure he did stuff off to the side.
Yeah, I think it was kind of an optics type of thing. It's keep Green Bay on their toes a little bit.
There's literally no point in them playing Madison.
No,
even if you think he's going to play, it's one of those things where it's like Boone's going to get the majority. He's probably but yeah, I mean, you would think that Madison would get like the same role that he did last or has been the entire season, if at all.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just do some quick either or here. You have Mike Boone. Let's start lower on the list. Really great matchup. David Montgomery is going to get a ton of work. Who are you starting there, Mike Boone or David Montgomery?
Mike Boone, not close.
Everyone agree, not close.
Mike Boone.
I kind of put it a little bit closer than not close, but I will definitely take Mike Boone.
But I would, and John knows how much I don't like David Montgomery. I would like to hear the argument for David Montgomery. David Montgomery, he hasn't done anything all season. It's the only
argument is great matchup and workload. He doesn't do much with the workload, but he does have it. That Madison thing is still kind of hanging over Boone's head. So I mean, it is, even though that everything screams good about Boone. I mean, this matchup wise, Montgomery kind of has a similar situation, but he kind of is guaranteed kind of a certain amount of workload, even though we've seen he hasn't been able to do anything with it. So I mean, that would be the argument, but not enough to sway me in any kind of direction. Kenyon Drake or Mike Boone. Kenyon Drake is at Seattle in what looks like to be, which surprised me a bit, is actually the highest over-under the entire weekend.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it shocked me. I bet the under for sure, but it was like up in like the 50s or something. It was like the highest game of the weekend last time I checked.
It's still Mike Boone for me.
I'm still thinking Mike Boone. I'll be right back, boys.
Yeah, you're good.
It's got to be Mike Boone.
Yeah, the big thing here where we can kind of eliminate some names real quick is just the fact that, it's not just the matchup for Mike Boone, it's also kind of the game script, the way this is likely to play out. This is not really a must-win situation for either team. And it's really weird for week 16 two, NFC North teams headed to the playoffs where neither of them needs this win.
I argue as a Packers fan that this is a very much a must win. So I don't know how Vikings fans feel or how the Packers themselves feel, because it's so tight. The Packers are actually in the driver's seat where if they win today, have to go against a Detroit team that, for all intents and purposes, don't really stand much of a chance with the personnel they're probably going to send out there. But you win those, you get a bye week. If things don't go a certain way, you're actually on the road in a wild card game. So I think that getting that bye, especially in the way the NFC is a huge deal. So I think the Packers would very much like to take care of this game.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, you don't need it to get the division, because I mean, let's be honest. Are we really worried about David Blah next week against, even though it's at Detroit? I mean, that's what it would take, is Detroit has to beat Green Bay for this to even be in question.
Yeah, I think the idea is try to stomp the Vikings and then sit everyone next week if you can, or anyone who is at least nursing some kind of injury. But I would anticipate the Packers going full out in this thing, not pulling any punches, even though they always say you might face the Vikings. And this is the reason the Vikings shouldn't play Madison, actually, because he's already is banged up. Like, there's a good chance to play the Packers again. They always do that thing where, especially in division games, you don't want to show them all your cards of what you're currently trying to do and kind of hold back a bit. The Patriots always do it. So we'll see. But I see what you're saying, but I guess I'm in a different seat, though, because I have a vested interest in the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they're going to go all the way. I do think – I definitely think that the Packers need this one more than the Vikings do. And that's kind of the point, I guess, is the fact that the Vikings don't have to. This isn't a must win game for them. Nothing really changes for them, win or lose. So, they can kind of, they can do what works best. They can kind of go with, the path of least resistance, which is the running game. You can definitely run on Green Bay. It's a lot tougher when you get that game script where you have to start throwing the ball and you actually have to, that compels you to actually do it, and they're not in that situation. So you can see a massive workload from Mike Boone regardless of chasing points or not.
Yeah, I put Mike Boone in my lineup over Tyler Higbee. So,
ooh,
Mike Boone, you motherfucker.
Was that, at the very least, that was just single PPR, not tight end premium, right?
No. Yeah, those single PPR.
Then it was the right play. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly was thinking about going Higbee the whole time with Kittle double tight end and I'm not saying that Everett coming back was a big deal for me. I didn't think he'd get a whole ton of work in this game, but the matchup I wasn't excited about to begin with Higbee, and then whatever, it happened. What happened. Mike Boone, you better show up. We're going to talk about Boone a little more, everybody. We got a question here from Caesar Kingdom. Who to start in flex? Tyler Boyd, Terry McLaurin, or Darius Slayton? That's a good one.
That is a good one. That's super close.
I'm taking McLaurin to start.
I think McLaurin has the best matchup and the worst QB. So that's tough. I don't honestly go with Boyd with Dalton there. Probably the best matchup here. Well, it's tough. He's still got a good matchup. He's still the number one wide receiver. I think I'd go Boyd just for floor here.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell out with the fake answer of ceiling and floor. If you need dependable points and you feel like the rest of your team is solid, go with Boyd. If you're shooting for the moon and you're behind the 8 ball because of I don't know, starting Deshaun Watson yesterday, I go with McLaurin as I feel that he, a couple of home run swings and he can get you there. But
I would argue that Slayton has the ceiling more than the floor, or more than McLaurin.
I don't know. Still Eli Manning.
I know, but I mean, he caught a touchdown. It might be Daniel Jones this week.
Is Danny?
I think it's Danny.
I think he might be back.
Well, yeah, I mean, Slayton, I believe has. Let me check.
Although I did state this was an insanely close question to start. It
really is. It's like a coin flip between McLaurin and Slayton because of the matchups, because of playing each other, and then Boyd has. You're playing Miami. Sometimes that's not great for your top wide receiver. Sometimes, but I don't know how the Cincinnati-Miami game's going to go. To be all honest, this is a very hard game to predict. I don't know if this is going to be a ton of scoring. I don't know if this is going to be more of a defensive battle, and we're not going to see a ton of points scored in this game.
Yeah.
But I was off the Terry McLaurin train most of the latter half of the season when Dwayne Haskins comes in because they just weren't connecting. You saw no chemistry from the Buckeye days until the last 2 weeks. 3 weeks. And now all of a sudden McLaurin is starting to become the guy. He is breaking those home runs like he was early in the season when Case Keenum was playing. I'm just going to go with him, keep riding the hot wave. Basically is the only reason. That's my only understanding of going behind McLaurin here.
Well, yeah. I mean, and Slayton has 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. So it's not like he's cold by any means.
Here's the main thing. I guess it's so close. Tiebreakers for me is Boyd. I think it's a mixing game. Slayton, there's more weapons on that team. McLaurin has literally nothing else to contend with, really. So I just, in my mind, I'm tie-breaking stuff, and I'm going with McLaurin. It's razor close for me. Razor close.
Yeah.
God. Hey, everyone give your final answer here. So this guy, let's see. We got 2 McLaurins. What do you guys got?
I'm saying Boyd.
Okay.
When it's this close, I think it is fair to say floor and ceiling. But I'm just going to assume that you're looking for a fairly safe floor here, fairly high floor. I'm going to go with Tyler Boyd.
That sucks.
Hey, Czar Kingdom. Good luck. Hey, you're not starting Darius Slayton, so
You're not starting Slayton.
now at least you can flip a coin. It's no
But it will
longer
be
a three-sided coin.
So I mean, I think it's how yesterday went for you. If you're behind an 8 ball, let's just say you faced Higbee and Debo or something like that, and you're behind an 8 ball here, you probably should go McLaurin. But if you're still tied or you're ahead, I would go with Boyd.
Yep, good call. And, before we get back to Boone, in that same game, we might as well stick with it. We were talking about the Cincinnati game. Everyone loves Devontae Parker. He got paid, and everyone assumes he should go off in this game. For everyone paying attention, they see that even though Cincinnati's not very good at very much, they've actually held wide receivers from having monster games this entire year. Like, what have they given up? Maybe one top 10 or top 15 performance, I think, versus a wide receiver. Does that scare you off of Devontae Parker at all?
Not me personally, no. I mean, I think I read a stat that Ryan Fitzpatrick is 4th in the league in tight window throws. And I think he's just going to keep chucking it up to Devontae Parker. I mean, there's not much else there. Cincinnati has actually been decent against tight ends as well the last 4 weeks. Albert Wilson had a good game last week, but he hasn't been much of anything this year. Oh, by the way, get ready for another singlet video because of that. So yeah, I think you can't go away from the hot hand despite the matchup here.
Okay. Who would you rather start, him or Mike Boone, if you had the flex?
Mike Boone.
Depends on scoring.
All right, let's just go with full PPR.
Probably Parker,
and PPR.
Because I assume that's what most people are doing at this point.
See, Parker kind of, and this is the worst thing in the world, and I don't advise anyone to follow the strategy, but Parker's on the one-on, one-off game streak. And I'm sorry, but like I get nervous about that, especially when it comes into championship week, especially against the defense that has allowed the 4th least amount of points to the wide receiver position. Like this has misery written all over it for you starting Devontae Parker, and you'll find yourself back in that week 1 trap of 2016, 2015, 2007, all these years where you're like, all right, it's Devontae Parker's turn, baby, and he's gonna burn you. And this is that specific week, and there's not much to go behind it other than just the gut saying I'm gonna take Boone over that, and I don't like Parker that much this week. Obviously, I'm not gonna sit him for Greg Ward, but I'm nervous about him. I don't like him. I would take Boone over him.
Greg Ward's interesting. He's got a lot of questions about Greg Ward. We'll get to him in a little bit.
Well, here's the other thing. Like, volume does count here. And Parker, besides 1 week, I mean, let's look since week 10. He's had 10 targets, 11, 10, 2, and 7. Like, he's going to get volume. I think he's got a really safe floor. And then we've seen him go 2 touchdowns in 2 of the last 3 weeks. So he's got a humongous ceiling as well.
But once you have a big week like that, it's rare that lightning strikes twice. It's rare that the defense is not now going to scheme to stop Devontae Parker and make Ryan Fitzpatrick make these throws.
Yeah, but
other players.
They should have been doing that basically since Preston Williams went down, right? And he's still getting 10, 11, 10, 2, 7 targets.
Right, respectfully so.
Like, I'm not saying he's going to get 150 yards and 2 touchdowns again.
No.
But if he gets 10 targets and catches 7 for like 70 yards, you have 14 points right there.
Yep, and hopefully he finds the end zone. For sure. My thought is that he's not going to find the end zone. We're going to see more of a 4 to 5 catch game from him for 40, 50 yards. If you want to start that, go ahead. But that's just my opinion.
Who would you rather start, Devontae Parker or Tyler Lockett?
Probably Parker because of volume.
One interesting, or the other, what do you guys think?
Probably Parker. I don't like Lockett's matchup.
I've got Lockett 2 spots ahead of Parker, actually. So
spots out of Parker. All right. How about
they're both top 10? I mean, you're try and find a way to get both of them into your lineups in most cases.
Yeah, I know. You're going to probably be starting them both if you own them. I don't know if this is a DFS tiebreaker, but it's interesting enough. But here's a name that's very interesting. DJ Moore. What do you think of DJ Moore? With more importantly, if you're under a rock, this is more of a quarterback question than a DJ Moore question.
He's 1 spot below Devontae Parker for me.
You can't go away from him. I mean, the guy has a ton of volume this season, and especially since week 5. Like, his lowest targets is 6, and he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 double-digit target days in that span. Another 2 where he's had 9 targets.
It's a question mark at quarterback, though, and I love Will Grier. I have pretty high expectations for Will Grier going forward, but in his first NFL start, I don't know.
I agree, but at the same time, it's like, who are you gonna sit DJ Moore for? Like, the top end, like Michael Thomas, sure. Julio Jones, sure.
Yeah. Devontae Parker.
Would you sit him for Mike Boone?
No, I would not.
I'm bringing him up literally for every player we discussed. You got used to it.
Listen, Mike Boone, like, will probably be at minimum a mid RB2. Like, he's just going to be safe because of volume. But at the end of the day, like, when you're getting volume like DJ Moore is, like Devontae Parker is, it's just like, it's tough to start. And I hate this argument, but the RB3 for the Vikings over the wide receiver 1 for these teams.
All I'll say about the Carolina Panthers is I am in 2 finals where I desperately need Christian McCaffrey to show up and dominate. And I'm feeling pretty good about having Will Grier out there. If nothing else, game plan wise, they're going to probably lean on him as much as usual, if not a little more. It's Christian McCaffrey. It's not like, you're sitting him ever, but I'm feeling pretty good about that. But going back to Boone, because we haven't really moved off of it, because everyone's very interested. Just tons of questions. Who would you rather start, Mike Boone or Philip Lindsay?
Boone, not close.
I've got Lindsay.
Yeah, you're dumb.
Okay, explain that, because
Lindsay, by the way, Philip Lindsay will outscore him.
Okay, I will put a bet down on that.
For
Detroit is allowing the 4th most fantasy points to the running back position. I
understand that.
Denver's going to get a lead in the first 5 minutes. It's just going to be Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman show.
The Packers are allowing the 8th most.
Although I will say,
a better offense.
But the Vikings might fall down early in that game. Thus,
therefore, Boone will get receptions.
I will say, in their last 2 games, the Packers have shaved a couple of yards per carry off of what they've been giving up for the run. I mean, it's 3-game sample size. Whatever. I mean, it's take it for what it's worth. That is a close one, because for the sake of the show, just so I can have something rankings to go by besides my own, I use the the aggregate rankings over at Fantasy Pros, and they're like locked, Boone and Lindsay, like neck and neck. So that's why I bring him up, and Devontae Freeman is actually right there with him as well.
I would start Freeman over Lindsay too.
I wouldn't, just for the simple fact of Devontae Freeman. I love the matchup. I love everything about it. And yeah, you probably want to start Devontae Freeman, but I fucking hate him.
My start sit article on FFMercs.com. Let me find it real quick, but there was a stat that I found for Freeman, or I calculated it. And basically, for teams that have allowed or are allowing, or in the bottom half or top half, however you want to look at allowing fantasy points to running backs, when Devontae Freeman faces those teams, he has 16.9 fantasy points PPR in each average in each of those games.
So he just can't play against the good teams, but you put him against the shitty team, he can perform.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Yeah, Jacksonville is dead last right now over the past 5 weeks against running backs. So.
Shit defense. Yes, absolutely.
If you've got a running back going against Carolina or Jacksonville, you have to find a way to get him into your lineup.
See, I feel the same.
Even Marlene.
Disagree about Mixon, or not Mixon, but Mac. I'm going to argue against Mac here.
I don't know how you go against that at this point.
Isn't he kind of a consensus top 5 running back this week for most places? Yeah, I'm not saying everywhere, just
not me.
He's number 7 for me. So I mean, not quite must start, but
my issue is that Max, since over the past 5 weeks, is the RB31. He split down the middle snaps, or he had the same amount of snaps as Jordan Wilkins last week. He is not involved in the passing game, so he's just not been good. He's splitting snaps still, and he's not involved in the passing game. He may be a decent RB2, but like I don't think he's a surefire. Yeah, you need to start him.
We just 3 weeks ago, I believe, we just saw both Adrian Peterson and Darius Geis go over 100 yards on 10 carries against Carolina. They cannot stop the run.
I agree, but again, Mac, it's not like this lock for me where, I mean, Mac, you're fine starting Mac, but I'm not saying he's a lock for RB1 numbers.
And like since he's returned from injury, he's had 2 games averaging less than like 2.4 yards per carry. It's not even that he's not getting the whole entire workload, but when he gets the workload, he doesn't look like the Marlon Mack that we saw in the beginning of the year. He doesn't look like the Marlon Mack. Something's wrong with him. To be all honest, Indy needs to shut him down. I don't know why they're even kind of running him out there right now, but I don't love Marlon Mack. I like the matchup. I don't mind starting him, but I'm not confident. I'd rather have Philip Lindsay than Marlon Mack for sure. I just wish Royce Freeman wasn't out there every fucking play.
Oh no, I got to interject. What are we talking about here for now? Like, as far as Marlon Mack, like, is anyone actually sitting Marlon Mack? Like, what are we actually talking here, advice-wise?
Really depends. Like, if it's Boone versus Mack, I'm starting Boone. If it's Freeman versus Mack, I'm starting Freeman. If it's Lindsay versus Mack, I'm starting Lindsay. Like,
wow. I would agree on all 3 of those, to be honest.
I'm starting Mac over all of them, to be honest.
I mean, you do that, but those 3 are more involved in the passing game, so their floors are much higher for me. And like I said, he has a lot of things going against him over the past few weeks.
It's nothing crazy. I don't know. I mean,
again,
it's not particularly close in my head. Like, I wouldn't really examine it too much further. I guess it's more like he's also not really sharing the ball with anyone.
Yeah,
I mean, Boone's not either, but again,
he absolutely is. Wilkins just scored the only touchdown last week for them.
Yeah.
And Naheem Hines is in there for passing downs. Like, here's my thing. I'm not saying sit him. I am saying if you have the right situation, I would be sitting him for guys like that, but I still think he's probably an RB2 this week.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. He's definitely not like any kind of a monster. Not that there's many monsters this week. I mean, to be honest, a lot of Max Carolina. After that, Kamara's got Tennessee. Aaron Jones has Minnesota. There's some like not great matchups, so it's not going to be too hard to sneak in there to be an RB1, at least to get into the top 12. One guy we hadn't mentioned yet is Miles Sanders. Where does he dump in all those names we just talked about?
I don't know what they're doing because Boston Scott's heavily involved, and I think he's still going to be heavily involved in the passing game at the very least. But Sanders had 20 carries or something last week.
Yeah, he's the guy who scares me more than any name we just talked about, though. Like, I would love to have one of these other options just so I could go with him.
Did he do enough last week to
he had 25 total touches, 19 carries for 122, and he caught 6 of 6 targets for 50 and a touch. He had a receiving and a rushing touchdown.
And it's
a game for everyone to overreact and say he's the best rookie running back. That's how good of a week he had.
Yeah,
I would not say that. He was my favorite.
I'm just saying people did
right. He was my favorite coming out, but I mean, he's had double-digit carries in the last 6. He's had 3 or more targets in the last. In every week since week 5. In the last 4, he's had 5 or more targets. I still think he's probably a back-end RB1 at the very least.
Yeah, I like Miles Sanders. I have absolutely no problem with him. It's nerve-wracking. I'd rather have Philip Lindsay. I'd rather have Devonta Freeman. But like the Miles Sanders and Marlon Mack situation gets a little bit iffy. I'm probably leading Mack, but like that's kind of where I put Miles Sanders in, right up there.
Sam, you'd put Sanders over Mack, I'm assuming, right?
Yes. And it's really just because of his involvement in the passing game.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Which has been his staple all year, you know? Like, if you ever did need him, you would just hope, like, okay, Miles Sanders, give me 4 catches for 80 yards. Come on.
I know. He's actually one of the few running backs that not only is involved in the passing game, but they, like, send him downfield on occasion quite a bit, like, downfield.
Do they need a new quarterback?
John, where would you slide Sanders in with these guys? Was it Lindsey, Boone, Freeman, Mack, Sanders? So obviously a lot of names there.
Yeah, I've got him below all those guys. And I mean, it's close. I'd rather have Boone but it's by one spot at this point. Sanders is more in the territory of. I mean, he's with the kind of the lead back type of guys who are in bad matchups because that's essentially what he is. So James Conner, Aaron Jones, Lev Bell, Kenyon Drake. Those are the type of guys that's the tier that I've got Sanders in this week. And Alvin Kamara, who is no longer elite, like he's kind of in that range for me.
It's funny. I still have Aaron Jones above.
I'm just going to let it go because I don't have time for this.
Who's the guys you said you had him? Aaron Jones, and what was the other running back you said the tier he was in?
James Conner, Lev Bell.
All the guys we talked about, I have Conner below. All the guys we talked about, I have Aaron Jones above.
Oh, wow. Aaron Jones above like Devonta Freeman, Marlon Mack, Phillip Lindsay.
Yes, have him above all of them.
Wow.
Because it's not a homer thing. I swear. He's
because it kind of sounds like a homer thing.
No. I mean, he's a short of the work. I know Jamal Williams is still there, but I mean, yeah, he's part of the running game, part of the passing game. But I trust him way more than I trust Devonta Freeman. Phillip Lindsay's obviously got a good matchup, but he's still sharing the ball a little bit. Boone, honestly, is the one that it's funny because they're in the same freaking matchup. Because if you have Boone, you can't really make a decision because he's on Monday, so you can't like swap anything out last second. The Boone is the only guy actually in my mind I'm considering because I can see this in my mind. You can obviously imagine the giant ceiling for Boone against the Packers defense. But yeah, I like Aaron Jones over all of them, including Marlon Mack, even against Minnesota.
Now that we're talking about this, let's talk about this question we have that we're talking about all of these running backs.
Mr. Spaceman says, hey guys, just found out Mixon's got a stomach bug. When you posted this question, I looked it up. I'm not finding too much about this being anything that's going to really be holding him back. So I'm going to go forward with that not being an issue. But if you could pick three, says Joe Mixon, Connor, Boone, Chubb.
I'm benching James Conner out of that group. Joe Mixon, I was so tempted to make Mixon my RB1 for the week. And I just couldn't put him above McCaffrey. Like right now you can't do it, but easy number 2 for me. And I mean, the rest of these, we haven't talked about Nick Chubb yet, but that's kind of the toughest one. I would still take him over Conner though.
After the week, Mixon got 30 carries. I don't think you could sit him since then.
Yeah, I get it. Like, because it's like this tank bowl or whatever we want to. But I mean, that's the news right now is that Joe Mixon is fighting the stomach flu. They don't know how much he's going to play. It is a fantastic matchup, but it's tough to sit Joe Mixon regardless because, like you said, I mean, he's been top 5 at the very minimum running back since in the second half of the season. It's got to be Connor, but I get the hesitation.
Mm-hmm. I think the question would be harder if it was pick 2 between Mixon, Boone, and Chubb. Connor being the 4th, and you're only picking 3, I think it makes it an easy decision. Connor's obviously just coming back, and he's pulling from a bowl with 2 other people that they're willing to use in Pittsburgh. So he's the easy cut for me. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just joining in with you guys. Don't worry about James Conner is definitely got to be the guy that you can't start right now out of these 3. It would be a lot tougher of a decision going in, or just 86ing him and trying to pick 2 of the 3 remaining. At which point,
why don't we do that for the sake of argument? If you had to pick 2 of the remaining 3, would anyone take out Mixon?
I probably would, just because of the question, personally.
I wouldn't. I mean, to me, the worst case scenario with this stomach bug, and again, this is kind of the first we're really hearing of it, so no idea what this is going to do as far as a snap count or anything. But to me, the worst case scenario is this stomach bug neutralizes him to a point where he gets, the same workload as Nick Chubb.
Right.
With Kareem Hunt there. Kareem Hunt is basically Nick Chubb's version of the stomach flu.
And by the way, call me crazy, but I'm taking Nick Chubb out this week. It was Boone, Chubb, and Mixon, right? If Mixon
Boone's going to break a lot of hearts or make a lot of people celebrate because now I can actually get on board with the thought process Nick just laid out because of Kareem Hunt in Baltimore. I mean, I can. I don't know if I'd do it. I don't think I could have the balls to do it, but I can get behind the thought process. I'd probably roll with Mixon and Chubb still, but I really could see sitting Chubb out of the 3 because of how things could potentially go.
It's tough. I mean, that's championship week right there. It's
I know what it is. That could be overthinking championship week right there, though.
I think it is. I mean, listen, he had 135 yards and 3 touchdowns last time against the Ravens.
Yeah, I just don't think that's going to happen again. Obviously that's not going to happen again, but I don't think that he's going to blow up against Baltimore. That
was a weird game too, right? I mean, the Browns poked a hole for one thing. Impenetrable Baltimore team, and then after that, Baltimore
on them, didn't they, or something?
Yeah, after that, everyone thought, all right, Baltimore's a fluke. Browns are back, and then after that, just completely opposite trajectories, obviously. But that game, I just erased from memory. So let's actually get into the game by game, which we're actually running a little late on this. Starting with, since we talked about James Conner, the Steelers and Jets. What actionable advice that we have not talked about really jumps out to you guys in this one? Starting with you, Sam.
Sit Robbie Anderson. Basically, sit all your Jets. I'm not even Lev Bell. I'm not touching Lev Bell either.
Yeah, I mean, I can get behind that. I honestly, I don't want to start anybody in this game. Literally nobody. I don't want to start a single player.
I was gonna say Juju's playing, but I'm still not starting him.
I'm fine with Connor, but
I agree.
I mean, as an RB2, I'm fine with Connor, but other than that,
4 guys we were just talking about, obviously at him before them all. But no, on most teams, if you're in here and you have Connor on your team, that means he's been playing some part of your team. So I don't mind starting him. But everyone else, I feel like this game's going to be a nice, solid 13-10 Steelers victory. So nothing for fantasy.
Going to John here for a second. Same question, but ranking wise, who do you like Connor mixing in him with Kenyon Drake and David Montgomery today?
Let me check. Looks like Connor just barely over those guys. But it's really pretty close. It basically goes, for me, it goes Connor, Lev Bell, Kenyon Drake, David Montgomery. That's how my rankings look.
I think I put Connor behind Drake and Montgomery, even though Montgomery I don't like at all. I just like the matchup. That one is close. So I may change my mind before this segment is over. But
the only argument for Connor, and again, I'm not very high on him. It's just the fact that he owns that backfield when he's available. You get Jalen Samuels a little bit in the passing game, but they're not even taking James Conner off the field in order to do that. So he's the one guy who really has kind of the bell cow type of role.
What do you guys think? You guys agree with that?
Yep.
Sure. I wasn't listening, so I'm just gonna pass.
I think
Drake, Montgomery, Conner. How would you rank those 3? Drake, Montgomery, Conner.
Drake, Conner, Montgomery.
We'll go. I'd go Drake, Montgomery, Conner. Ooh, I just can't.
I just can't. Right, Nick. That's what it did to me. I'm like, I don't want to put Montgomery.
I don't want to put Montgomery, but to be honest, Kansas, I don't know, man. Chicago, they're gonna have to run ball Dave Montgomery. So
yeah, you'd think they would. I mean, that's not.
We say that,
right?
And then he hasn't been good against defenses that allow the run. I mean, last week Green Bay 39 yards on 14 carries, Detroit 75 yards on 16 carries. He's not been good against teams that allow the run. He's had one.
He's the really good Devonta Freeman. He's had Devonta Freeman.
Yeah, he's had one really good game this season. Well, maybe a couple, sorry, because of the pass catching. But he's had that 135-yard game. Everything else is just meh.
Yeah. Moving into the next game, we got Saints at Titans. We're not talking about Dion Lewis anymore. We're not going to do it. Let's talk about Alvin Kamara.
Start him.
Ugh.
No, we're not talking about sitting them. We're just talking about the general scheme of things. I always get these questions all week, and a lot of people have asked this. It's not like it's something directed to me. It was out there. What's the earliest you would take Alvin Kamara next year? What round? Is anyone not taking him in the first fucking round?
John won't take him in the first round.
Really?
He will go in the first round. He is a top 5 running back in the league.
You have the 12th pick, and he is still there for you at the turn. You're not taking Alvin Kamara in the first round?
In a 1 QB redraft, I'll take him.
No, you guys are crazy. What the hell has Kamara done this year to prove to you that he's a top first round running back?
I would argue he's the same exact guy.
We are going to get in the weeds here. I am not having this conversation again.
Like, I understand he only has one touchdown. Touchdown's the most unpredictable stat you can have. But even if you take away that, he's still only getting you 60 yards a game.
He is still the RB12 with 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns. He's an RB12. Is he RB12 right now?
He is the RB12
with 2 touchdowns.
He is the RB9. He is the RB9 in points per game with 2 goddamn touchdowns.
2 goddamn
for 1 week. When you're trying to win your fantasy championship, don't you want some touchdown upside?
Oh, Jesus fucking
Well, we're not really talking about this week in particular. It's more like going forward. But yes, I would be interested to seeing who you would sit him for, though. Like any of those guys we talked about earlier, that group with the Boone, Freeman, Mack. Are you sitting? Would you flat out sit him if you had 2 of those guys? Any combination, John?
Freeman. I would sit him for Freeman. I would sit him for Marlon Mack.
I'll say this.
I would sit him for Austin Eckler.
Jesus fucking Christ,
Philip Lindsay. Yeah,
if you had 2 of that
this
group,
is so stupid.
If you had like 2 or 3 of that group, Kamara would actually be on your bench.
Matt, I know why you asked this question. This is not, these are the questions I'm getting. You heard me and him go at it about Alvin Kamara. I don't want to hear your goddamn excuses.
Hold on. Have I not been defending Kamara this whole time for the record?
That's fine, but you asked the question because you heard me and John go at it over this.
Yeah. We've got
Didn't you say you considered sitting him last week, Sam?
No, I considered sitting him this week.
Was it this week? Okay. I just know I thought something.
In standard, I am sitting him for Freeman.
Yeah, standard.
I
didn't know those were still a thing.
In my one standard redraft league, I am sitting him for Freeman. Other than that, listen, he is facing.
I mean, it's your funeral. Like, go for it.
Yep.
You do understand I'm very good
hope
at
he gets 12 receptions, or you're about to have a nice 11-point day from him.
You want to hear my rationale here? You're just going to start throwing pot shots at me still.
Pot shots, mostly.
I'll hear the rationality.
Tennessee Titans have allowed the 3rd most, one behind Washington, receptions to running backs on the season.
That is the best thing going for him.
Absolutely. Right.
Absolutely.
He is heavily involved in the passing game, regardless of how you feel about him as a fantasy asset. He has 2 games in single digits. He has 3 games under 12 fantasy points on the season. He has the safest floor of any running back out there. Now, yes, he may not have the ceiling right now. Please argue with me. Tell me who has
floor
a safer
Christian
floor.
McCaffrey.
Okay, I apologize. He has the 2nd safest floor of all the running backs in the league.
What about Chris Carson?
Now, give me. It's Kamara because of his.
I was hoping to back you down 1 slot at a time.
It's Kamara. It is Kamara. God, you guys are assholes.
Hold on, Carson's a very good start this week, though.
No. I agree, but I'm saying in the league, he has the 2nd safest floor in the league. Because of his ability in the passing game. Because of his situation. He is the 2nd pass catcher on a pass first offense right now.
Here we go.
And there's nobody else on that. I mean, Jared Cook's been fine, but who are you going to trust, Kamara or Cook? Really? And I don't want to hear your garbage. Like, I'm going to throw this hot take to piss Sam off. He has 2 games below 5 targets on the season. 2 games.
Are you talking about today or are you talking about next season?
I'm talking about both. He's a safe play today. Extremely safe play today.
He hasn't been a safe play all.
What do you mean he hasn't been a safe play? What did I just talk about?
Hold on. As someone who's backed you up this whole time, I can't call him safe because even though touchdowns.
Do you understand what safe means?
Well, no. Here's the thing.
Well, yeah.
But here's the thing, right? Touchdowns are fluky and can't be predicted, and it's stupid to try.
Right.
But he hasn't been getting them, so I'm going to throw in the cosmic thing that he doesn't get them as a factor For some reason, God doesn't want him to score touchdowns
Doesn't that just
this
mean
year.
he's due, though? Doesn't that mean he's due for a good
me?
touchdown game right now?
I'm really super.
This is why we should not have talked about this. This is why I didn't say anything to John when he threw that bullshit out.
Hey, I did say I'd
start this stupid goddamn conversation.
People I would start over Kamara today. You're starting him no matter what, in my opinion.
Kerryon Johnson.
Whatever. In a one running back league, I'm starting Carson, McCaffrey, Zeke, Barkley, Fournette, and that may be it.
Okay. So
Ingram,
Mark
maybe.
Ingram.
Yeah,
Yep.
Ingram. But I think I draw the line there. I think I put Chubb behind him, Mac behind him, everyone else. I think that's where I put Mixon. Would have been easily above him. I don't know what the hell to make of this. If Mixon was completely healthy, he'd be above him too. But well, let's say he's sick and he's only going to get half the touches. I'll put Kamara above him too. But I still have him in the top half of the top 10.
How many teams in the fantasy championships even have Alvin Kamara is the question. More than one. So one person probably.
I think I have him on
all over the world.
I think I have him on 4 of my 6 championship teams.
We should actually put that out on Twitter. I wonder how many people really do. Like,
see, here's the thing: is I don't rely on just one player. I'm a good drafter all around. John.
No, I'm just saying in general. Though.
We're talking about Alvin Kamara right now.
John.
So you're saying that you're winning in spite of Alvin Kamara?
Oh, not at all.
Well, like that's all you're doing is making the point even more.
He's given me double digits all season. That's all I can ask for.
Scott Misha wants to know, is Stompy in a closet?
No, I'm in my mother's basement.
He's got the game of life behind him. Damn it. Let him be.
There's a giant stuffed rabbit right here.
He's Milton on Office Space right now. We put him down in the basement for his Kamara, and we stole his stapler.
PS Gamer has Kamara too. He's on Team Kamara.
It's just I'll give John this point. He may not be elite this season. I will give you this point. I'm saying. He is a top 5 running back in the league. Right,
talent-wise for sure, but I have to get some touchdown upside, especially here in week 16, and he doesn't have it.
That's fine. I mean, you're not. If
before we move on, seriously, you two, the 12th pick, Kamara's there next year. You're really, with as fluky as running backs can be, you're not going to take the Kamara upside at 12. I would never let him get to 12, but you would take him at 12.
In redraft, I probably would. I don't know. We'll see how things shake out this offseason.
Yeah.
But
I can't predict my August draft right now. Yeah, it's like right now, if I see Kamara there at 12th pick, or I'm debating between him and James Conner, sure, yeah, I'm going to take Alvin Kamara. But I mean, if I see Michael Thomas still on the board, or I don't know. I mean, there's other ways I would have no problem going. But I also wouldn't mind drafting him. But if it's like 12th pick, if you're talking like 5th or 6th pick, I probably wouldn't take him. No.
Again, RB9 on the season in points per game.
It was just RB12. What the heck? Now
he is the RB12 in total points.
Okay.
He's missed.
He's the RB1, Nick. Fuck you.
I know. Has been the best running back since 1994.
He was due for touchdown regression. I will give you that. But
this is too much.
He went 14. He went from 18 total touchdowns to 2. So he is due to positively regress next year. And if he maintains the touches he's had through the last 2 seasons, he's back in the top 5 again.
He's not even getting the red zone looks, though. Passing attempts or rushing attempts. Like, we just need Kamara to score a 25-yard touchdown every game. Great.
Right now, yeah, sure, fine.
Isn't that kind of what you need out of Barkley, though? Why does Barkley get a pass?
Because apparently, and we could have this conversation. This is going to take up the rest of the goddamn.
I'm just saying, if we're going to big play,
no. I know what you're doing.
He's doing this on purpose.
You are doing this shit on purpose.
You know what? You can believe me or not. I had no idea you guys had a fight about Barkley at all.
And it was the dumbest goddamn fight in the face of the planet because John's just like, oh, well, Barkley fell off the face of the earth because he went from 1.1 to 1.2 in these draft or in his mock drafts. He's the RB2 instead of the RB1. Well, and he's like, well, the value, nothing's changed this offseason. Well, everything has changed. A lot of shit has changed this offseason, yes.
Nothing of any importance.
Oh my God.
It's a dynasty discussion where when people are trying to figure out how to set lineups here in week 16 and win a championship. So
true.
We can get to it later, but
moving on. Panthers at Colts. We kind of beat this game to death in the other conversations. Is there anything left to say here? Curtis Samuel looks like he's out. I mean,
no, he's in. He's active.
Is he? Oh, yeah. Last time I saw, I thought he was doubtful.
No, he was just upgraded to active.
All right. Well, I'm not starting him anyway.
Will Greer starts in, baby.
It really does. Oh, Will Greer. Is anyone going? You know what? Last week I had a challenge. If you're in a championship game, super flex would be beautiful here. If you're starting Will Greer in a real championship game, not the toilet bowl, screenshot it, prove it's a championship game. You will get a free consultation next year, a full free consultation from the FFMercs. I want Will Greer starting in your championship lineup.
Will Greer over Baker Mayfield today, by the way.
I would do that too, by the way.
I absolutely would do that.
I still want to see it. All right. Is there anything in this game? Because we talked about Mac a ton. Brissett, how do we feel about Jacoby Brissett, T.Y. Hilton, Pascal? How do we feel about the Colts offense other than Mac?
I mean, I like T.Y. Hilton this week. I think it's a Hilton week. He had 9 targets last week. They have been middling at best versus slot receivers, though T.Y. has not been playing a lot of slot, so I don't really understand that. But I think that I still think this is a T.Y. Hilton game.
In the Mercs Charity League, I have Brissett starting for me, and I kind of have been teetering back and forth between starting him or Dalton. But I'm stacking Brissett and Hilton instead. So wish me luck with that. How do you guys feel about the passing game, Nick and John?
The problem is game script here. So, you've got a rookie quarterback on the other side. You're certainly not going to be chasing points. I wouldn't imagine.
You watch him. You watch him blow up, and I would love it. Everybody.
I would love that. I'm not planning on it, but I would love to see that happen. But I mean, the most likely scenario is you get a rookie performance out of Will Greer. You get what you usually get out of a rookie's first start. So at the same time, I mean, you can also run the ball extremely effectively on Carolina. They're one of the 2 absolute smash spots right now in all of fantasy football when it comes to starting running backs. So, it just feels like there's not enough meat on the bone for Jacoby Brissett, for T.Y. Hilton, for Jack Doyle. They're going to throw the ball, but how much? 20 attempts. That feels like the absolute max. That feels like that's all you need.
Yeah, I'm not too sold on Indianapolis's passing offense this week. I'm kind of doing as much as I can to avoid them. Certain situations calls for certain matters, but exactly as John alluded to, like I couldn't set it better myself. That's just game script is not going to be there for him. Hopefully, Will Greer does go out there and throw 3 touchdowns for Carolina, thus kind of making Indianapolis have to play a little bit harder than we all think they have to. That's going to help Pascal. That's going to help Ty. But overall, I feel like Mac's probably the safest play, and I don't even feel like he's that safe when it comes to Indy.
Yeah. I hate having to pick between the guys I have. I mean, I don't want to start. I really don't want to start Brissett, but the same game script thing I have with Brissett, I have that with Andy Dalton too, because I feel it's going to be this Joe Mixon thing. But with Mixon possibly being hurt, I almost want to make a last-minute swap and put Dalton in there. But, whatever. I'll let everyone know at the last second. The next game we don't have to get into, Bengals at Dolphins. We kind of beat this one to death too. Anyone have any thoughts that we didn't really get into? We talked about Parker. We talked about Dalton. We talked about Mixon, Boyd. Anyone have thoughts on this game that we didn't hit already?
Ryan Fitzpatrick, top 10 play.
I do like Ryan Fitzpatrick he's a great play this week over a lot of like starting QBs or guys that you would normally start.
Yep.
Anything to add, Nick?
Over Aaron Rodgers. I hate that one, but yeah.
Man, I don't know. To be honest, I have a sneaking suspicion this game's not going to be a high-scoring game. I don't really like anyone from this, but that's me being crazy. Everything shows that it should be a very offensive game because these defenses blow ass. So we'll see.
I don't mind Patrick Laird in this game, though he is apparently splitting touches with Myles Gaskin, so that makes me hesitate. But he's had 3 straight games of 5. targets. He's involved in the running game as well. So Patrick Laird as a flex play, not the worst play in the world.
Agreed, 100%. I brought that up earlier in the show. Agreed. I don't mind Laird too much, just because if this game does get into a rushing game, we're going to see a lot of Laird and a lot of Mixon, maybe.
Ravens at Browns. Any worry about the Ravens pulling people early in this one?
No, because
they need to play this all the way. Yeah,
New England won, so I mean, it could be a blowout. He could get pulled or they could get pulled after the third quarter. But we saw what happened last week when they got pulled. It was because those guys that you would be starting crushed it. So
I think my question is not more about sitting guys. It's more about, does Gus Edwards become viable or something like that in this one?
No, I wouldn't. Nah, I mean, I don't think you can take that risk. Yeah. I think Hill's been more involved of late too. So
I love Justice Hill in Dynasty right now.
That's my issue, is that Justice Hill has been more involved, taking away touches from Edwards.
Yeah.
Yep. And over on the Cleveland side, we already said Baker. We don't love too much in this one. Nick Chubb,
love him.
Still top 10. Everyone's worried about Hunt. Nick Chubb's the man. How do you feel about Odell Beckham Jr.? I put out a tweet yesterday of all the trendy people to sit. Who would be the one that would bite you in the ass the most? A couple people named Odell Beckham Jr. I do not agree with that. I'm very happy to sit him in this one.
They're forcing him the ball, but he's facing 3 very good cornerbacks. Mm-hmm. Landry is the play if you need to play somebody, because he's been the hottest one. And
he's been the wide receiver one on that team since game 1, right?
And effectively, yes. And if the Ravens are susceptible to the pass, it's at the slot position.
Yep. What do we got here? I don't know. I can't even read this because I have my glasses on. PS Gamer has fantasy season set to end. Just wanted to say thanks for pods and all advice given. Very thankful. Very helpful. Thank you, buddy. We appreciate that. And Jared Gray comes up with the sup.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. PS Gamer. Thanks for watching and listening.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're going to get into the next game. If you have any questions in the chat, feel free to shout them out. We'll ask everything. We've already talked about Dion Lewis or Mike Boone. If you have a quick, who should I start between the two? Do it. We'll hit them up real quick. Jaguars at Falcons. We got, we kind of hit up all these games a little bit before, but on the Jaguars side, Leonard Fournette is obviously a must start. What do you think about Mr. Minshew with Chark questionable?
Pretty down on Minshew.
Yeah.
So Atlanta for the season is allowing the 6th most fantasy points to quarterbacks. So it looks like a nice matchup on paper. Over the last month, though, I lost the stat now, but Atlanta's defense has been significantly better since they turned over the play calling duties to Raheem Morris.
Here's the reason that Dan Quinn needs to be fired. He had Raheem Morris coaching the wide receivers when he's been a defensive back coach his entire career. That is exactly why Dan Quinn needs to be fired.
Hey, you are the wide receiver. You defend the wide receiver. There's no difference.
No, yes, there is. It's very obvious that there's a difference.
What's the difference?
One is the other. You talked about Ryan Fitzpatrick, really liking him this week. Who would you like more, him or Matt Ryan?
Fitzpatrick for me.
Yeah, I agree. I love Matt Ryan. I'm not too jazzed about it here. Before the next game, Mr. Justin from the Father Son podcast here. Cohen, Gaskin, Gio, non-PPR.
You had to have been ravaged by injuries over the past 2 weeks to have to make this type of decision.
Yeah.
It's definitely not Cohen. Man. I think it's Gaskin because
I think it's Gaskin. Yeah, I think it's Gaskin and in non-PPR. If it was PPR, I'd go Cohen, Gio, Gaskin, but I think it gets flipped without PPR.
I'm going Cohen.
I'm still gonna go Cohen just because he's got a better chance of hitting the end zone than Gaskin does.
Yeah, for that you're gambling zero versus upside. They're all gonna be near zero. Can we agree on that?
No, I do not.
With the guy who could accidentally get you a big game, and that's Cohen.
I don't agree with that. Miles Gaskin had 43 yards on 9 carries last week, 2 of 3 receptions or 2 of 3 targets for 29 yards.
Jesus, I don't know. That stomach bug thing. Now that I'm seeing the Mixon stomach bug, Yeah, Gio. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. If Mixon's not playing, for sure it's Gio. Like,
even if even if he is, again, you're playing with zeros here, so maybe go with Gio.
Yeah, take swings. I don't care. Take swings. Go with Gio.
Justin, I feel sorry for you, buddy. Good luck and Godspeed.
Yes.
The next game on the docket we're going to talk about is the Giants at Redskins. First of all, is this going to be high or low scoring, everybody?
I think it's going to be high. I think their defenses are just that bad.
Are you trusting Adrian Peterson in this one?
No,
I am.
They rank the Giants rank 8th in DVOA against the run versus 30th against the pass.
You say you like him, Nick. Where would you slot him in? Like, I'm trying to find you some kind of hard hitting question. Who do you like more, him or James Conner?
I don't like him a ton. Let's put that clear. I don't mind starting him, and specifically because I have a bet going on for my other podcast that he would outscore Gurley. Which, by the way, how did Gurley do?
15, I think.
Damn.
In most leagues.
I definitely need AP to give me like 3 touchdowns this week. So that's pretty much the only reason I like him. I mean, I don't know. I would probably go with James Conner over AP.
How about David Montgomery?
I'd probably still go. That one's tough.
How about you, Sam? You still really
I
don't
would
like?
go with Monty over Montgomery. That's my line. Or I would go Monty over AP. That's my line.
Okay. It's a pretty good idea for everybody. Anything else to cover in this one? We talked about Slayton. Barkley, you're starting no matter what. McLaurin, we kind of hit up. Haskins, you're not starting ever, even though his weapons are worthy. Is there anything anyone wants to talk about in this one before moving on?
I don't mind Sterling Shepard or Slayton in this game. Other than that, Caden Smith's probably not a good start. And then the running backs are probably the only ones. I don't love AP, but there are some bad matchups out there for running backs this week.
I think this game gets a lot of points, so I think we're going to see Shepard, Slayton, Scorin, McLaurin. I think all those boys kind of have a healthy day. I think
I've never heard that nickname before, and that shocked me. Scorin McLaurin. How come I haven't heard that?
McLaurin. Actually, to be all honest, I haven't heard it either until my podcast on Wednesday, and some fan brought it out, and I was like, "Ooh, I like that." And I know, I
like it more than all these other ones. That's pretty good.
I was a big fan of F1, but I'll go Scorin McLaurin.
Yeah, well, I guess the one's funner to say, and the other one's more badass. I'm throwing out Shepard in quite a few leagues. I always like Shepard until I'm proven wrong. I like him. Lions at Broncos. Kerryon Johnson. Where's everyone's line on him? I don't want to play him at all. I mean, he's above the Tariq Cohen line, right? If Justin had him, he'd be playing Kerryon, correct?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Where's the line above him? I mean, do you put him above? How about him or Kareem Hunt?
I'd go Kerryon on just on volume.
Yeah, I would think Kerryon because he's going to be getting.
The Lions are going to
pretty close to the
line over and over and over and over until he injures himself. So I'm going Kerryon because he's going to get 20, 25 carries.
Yeah, I love the report from the team that he's going to see the same workload he always has, but he's not going to start.
Well, that doesn't mean much because it's like, okay, we'll put Wes Hills out there for one carry and then carry.
I know, but why do it?
Why not just give him the start? In my opinion,
are you going to really try and understand a Bill Belichick disciple and Matt Patricia? Are you really going to try and understand what Matt Patricia's doing?
I guess he just he's doing this just so the other coaches. What is he thinking?
Yeah.
And then he throws him out there, then he starts him, and then sits him the rest of the game. That's
so in this one, I sat Galladay for Perryman. I'm glad I did. I think Galladay gets shut down. Amendola is the only pass catcher that I would want in this or for the Lions just because he's been so hot. I believe he's had 26 targets over the last 3 weeks. Let me check that real quick. Kareem Jackson has been suspended the last 2 games of the season. He's been their primary slot corner, right, John?
Correct.
So he's had 29 targets over the last 3 games. So Amendola would be the play for me here in terms of pass catchers. Galladay has been absent the last 2 weeks except for that one garbage time touchdown, and he's facing Chris Harris. Now, Chris Harris has not been great the second half of this season, but it's David Blau, as John likes.
I think David Bluffblow is a pretty cool name. We'll go with that.
So yeah, it's definitely. I would not you probably have better options than Galladay.
You know what? I don't have better options than Galladay, so I'll just hit this with you. The Kings Classic, the very league I really much care about winning. I am starting Kenny Galladay and the Denver defense on the same team. It's either Kenny Galladay or Sammy Watkins, Hunter Renfroe, John Ross III, or Ian Thomas. I'm going with Kenny Galladay.
I would almost go with Thomas or John Ross, honestly.
I picked up John Ross off of waivers a couple days ago just in case I didn't feel like playing Galladay, but I'm going to stick with Galladay because I feel like one play from him can get me there, and I'm going to stick with it. So it's one of those things in the finals.
So can John Ross, and his matchups a lot better.
Yeah, you know what? I would, but he's like been invisible since coming back. What, he had like 2 catches in the 2 games he's been back?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't. I mean, obviously, I'm bringing this up for a reason. You don't do what I'm doing, but I'm doing it.
By the way, I want to ask, how did the team that I drafted do in that? And would they have been better if I had been managing them?
No doubt they would have been better if you've been managing. We won't get into too much details to embarrass anyone on here, but I will tell you where they landed.
Embarrass FFMercs because that's whatever.
They finished second overall in the standings. The team you drafted. But they did not make the finals. They were in the semifinals in the what do you call it? The snake draft, in the auction draft. Checking it out. We lost in the semifinals. They didn't make the playoffs at all.
God damn it, FFMercs. Well, whatever.
All right. Well, there you go. Cat's out of the bag.
Oh, heaven forbid.
All right, next game. While everyone's like tuning out of the show, not knowing what the hell we are talking about, let's talk about the Raiders and Chargers. This is interesting. I would actually be pretty okay starting just about everyone in this game except for probably Derek Carr. I like everybody. Well, in the defense is no thank you.
I don't like Tyrell Williams.
Oh yeah, not Tyrell. Sorry, I forget he exists from time to time.
Yeah, well, because he's been non-existent except for last week. Yeah, I mean Waller's fine. DeAndre Washington's a good start this week, but that Chargers defense against the pass, especially lately, I believe they have allowed the fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks over the past 5 weeks. So yeah, you're not starting Carr anywhere. I wouldn't start Tyrell Williams anywhere. He gets Casey Hayward. So yeah, it's Waller and DeAndre Washington and nobody else.
Earlier I mentioned we had that group, Lindsey, Devonta Freeman, Boone, Mack. Where would you slide in both San Diego running backs in there, Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon?
Austin Eckler ahead of all those guys. I've got him RB6 for the week.
I am sitting Austin Eckler for Mike Boone and half PPR.
Oh, well, half PPR.
That's the only. If it was full PPR, I would go Eckler.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm assuming full PPR here with Eckler, but that puts him, like I said, RB6 for the week. Melvin Gordon RB14, so behind Nick Chubb, Phillip Lindsay, Alvin Kamara. Interestingly enough, I think Kamara is slightly safer than Melvin Gordon at this point.
I don't know. I like Austin Eckler a lot.
I thought Stan was going to lose his shit. So you just said Melvin Gordon's safer than Alvin Kamara. Or no, never mind. I can't even do it. I'm going to move on. What do we got? Cardinals at Seahawks. And again, if anyone missed it, is the highest over-under of the day. Bet the under. I mean, not that I don't think this game could have some points in it, but come on.
I don't even know where they get that because
last time I checked, it was like 52, but this was a few days ago.
No, yeah, I agree. It's just like one of those. Well, the Seahawks haven't been throwing a ton. The Cardinals haven't really been throwing a ton either. This is going to be probably mostly a run based game. Carson and Kenyon Drake are great starts.
I would say somebody. Oh, under you actually directed me. I talked again. Hopefully this works out for you, buddy. I talked someone out of a Wilson Lockett stack, and I told him to go ahead and stack up Carson and Hollister and save some money. So I think that's a better direction. I'd be fine with just with just going with Carson. But again, Hollister versus Arizona, he's very cheap. He's very involved, so I'm cool with that.
It's interesting, and I feel like I'm talking too much, so you guys butt in whenever. But I like all of the Seahawks this week, all of them, because I mean you can't sit Hollister except for like again those top end tight ends, Kelsey, Ertz, probably Waller, but
I'd take Hollister over Waller.
Would you? I mean, and you absolutely can, but it's just they have allowed a touchdown to a tight end in all but 2 games this season. They've allowed like 6 20+ point fantasy games to tight ends. So you have
they don't discriminate. Good tight ends, bad tight ends, all tight ends. Doesn't matter.
And then when you look at the wide receivers against the Cardinals, they're allowing let's see on the season. Sorry. They're allowing the 12th most fantasy points to wide receivers, but against slot receivers, they've been killed. DK is kind of tough to sit right now. I mean, if there's one you're going to sit, it's DK, but he's kind of tough to sit right now. Like I like all of the Seahawks, even Russell Wilson. On the other side, I'm okay with Drake, and I think Christian Kirk's fine, and that's it.
Yeah, Kyler Murray's still a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, I'm still starting Kyler.
But yeah, and part of that is the rushing upside. Man, if Arizona had any kind of tight end play whatsoever, like that would be they would be a plug and play like flex type of a player, because right now Seattle is probably the worst in the league against. I can't back that up statistically, but I know that Seattle has been getting killed by tight ends right now. But
yeah, I believe they are first or second over the last 5 weeks.
Yeah. So
question, just because it sounded like you guys weren't as high on. I mean, I love Russell even though I talked someone out of starting him, just because again DFS is different. You're talking about salaries and stuff. It's a different kind of thought process. But where do you have Ryan Fitzpatrick versus Russell Wilson? I have Wilson as like top 3.
Yeah, me too. Russell Wilson was number 3 for the week for me.
Okay.
And then we had Deshaun Watson play yesterday. So basically of the remaining quarterbacks, Russell Wilson's number 2.
Yeah, Russell Wilson is absolutely like he's got to be a top 3 quarterback.
And now that we're starting to talk through it, maybe the over under is correct.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I feel like both. I feel like Seattle in the end just wants to run, and it's just going to slow the whole thing down and run time off the clock. And it doesn't feel like any game Seattle's in should ever be the number 1 over under on the board. So I did bet the under, even though I can see points. I just don't. Whatever. Vegas knows what they're doing. When they had one game, I cannot remember what it was. God, I wish I had it. It was like UMass versus in college football. It was like UMass versus some other team, and it was like 2 losing teams. It was like 2 like 0-5 teams, and they had one of them favored by like 42.5. And if they didn't fucking win by 43, it was the most ridiculous thing I ever saw. So Vegas knows what they're doing. And they're smarter than you. So, watch the over-under on this one. Next game up on the board is Cowboys at Eagles in a game that I wish didn't exist. I don't want to start anyone in this, and I don't like this division. I live near Philadelphia, so I'm near these freaking Eagles fans all the time. They are annoying, and therefore I hear about Dallas all the time, so they're annoying. So you guys can take this one. I hate this game.
I actually like the Cowboys pretty much across the board.
Really? Even with Dak's throwing shoulder?
Yeah.
I don't think they would throw him out there if it was bad enough to like that he couldn't throw. I don't think it would be a Cam Newton situation.
Well, they kind of have to win this game though. So I mean, 50% of him is quite literally may be better than their backup though.
I mean that's fine, but like the Eagles outside cornerbacks have been terrible. Cooper and Gallup are good starts this week. Obviously, you're not sitting Zeke. I actually don't like Ertz or not Ertz, but Witten, because the Eagles have actually been good against tight ends this year. But other than that, yeah, I agree with John.
Who are you going to start, Amari Cooper or Mike Boone?
Amari by a lot.
Really, I got Mike Boone for sure.
Yeah, I would go with Mike Boone too.
Amari Cooper is a top 4 wide receiver for me.
Philadelphia won't be able to stop him. It's gonna be Cooper all day.
Yep.
It's going to be Boone volume for me.
Boone, I got over damn near everybody in the league, but Cooper is not one of those people.
I don't know. I'm more worried about the throwing shoulder than I guess most people.
Like I get it in DFS. You don't want to take that risk. That's fine. But yeah, in week.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not sitting him across the board. Mike Boone's is a special case. Yeah. Either you believe in the giant output or you don't. But yeah, you're not sitting Cooper unless there's extreme circumstances.
Right.
Kyle Senra, what's up, buddy? He's in the charity league. Good to have you here. Half point PPR, half point for first down. Start 2, Alan Lazard, Zach Pascal, Damian Williams.
He asked me this earlier, and I was like, "That's disgusting."
It's Pascal and then like poison.
Bench Damian Williams.
Yeah,
I'm Alan Lazard.
If the Packers had just sent MVS and Geronimo into the sun 7 weeks ago, they would be in a much better position. Just letting Lazard and help me out. I'm like blanking on my own team here.
Adams.
Yeah, Kumaro. Let Kumaro and Lazard just run amok out there with Adams, and MVS and Geronimo shouldn't even be on the field.
Yeah, Lazard still seems like he's kind of separated himself from the group as the number 2. And Minnesota, as good as they are against the run, they're just as bad against the pass. They're absolutely terrible. Like even Xavier Rhodes is a plus matchup for most wide receivers right now. Alan Lazard doesn't even have to deal with that. He gets like Trey Waynes, I think, and it's just such a winnable matchup. Lazard is the slam dunk out of the group for me.
Yeah, I think it's Pascal. You have to sit Pascal for me, but with Hilton back.
So we're all sitting someone different.
We all agree you should start Lazard though. So hey, you got that. Center here. He says he's thinking Pascal because he expects the Colts to run a lot. That's why he's benching Pascal.
I mean, it's good process.
Yeah.
Do we have official? Is Joe Mixon playing?
Yes, he is.
He is playing.
He was warming up pregame, so yes.
Okay.
I think with Pascal and Damian, you're gambling with zeros. It just depends on what game script you believe in more, I guess.
I believe in both.
Oh, here I got a question here from Gravy Neck on Twitter here. Kamara with his 2 guards out, or AJ Brown without Henry, or Diggs versus Green Bay.
I'm sorry. Repeat the 3. Diggs.
Kamara with his 2 guards out, AJ Brown without Henry, or Diggs versus Green Bay.
Kamara.
I'm going AJ Brown.
Yeah, this is tough for me. AJ Brown has been so hot,
and
does Lattimore shadow?
He does, and he struggled early, but he's shut down some people late in the season. I
mean, AJ Brown has been so hot. I gotta go with Kamara just because for me he is safe, despite what John says. But
not safe.
I understand the ceiling play with Brown.
That AJ Brown is so hot right now. Where's Will Ferrell from Zoolander? Give me Alvin Kamara.
Yes. Screw you, John.
Damn it.
Chiefs at Bears. Moving into this. How much time we got left? We got 7 minutes. We're pretty good. Chiefs at Bears. Who's starting the nightmare over on the Chicago side? I can't even think of it. Mitchell Trubisky. Who's starting Mitchell Trubisky?
Not I.
Everyone, I've seen everyone going nuts over Anthony Miller. The Chiefs aren't bad against the pass. I don't know if anyone knows that. If everyone just assumes they're that bad against the run, and there was always in these high-scoring games because they like to throw, they're not bad against the pass. So he's not really this huge slam dunk everyone thinks he is.
I think everyone looks at the Chiefs and still thinks that every game is going to be 54-51, and that's just not the case.
That defense is a lot better this year.
Yeah, most definitely. So I don't mind Anthony Miller, to be honest. He's
good. It's just people are putting him in the top 10. It's like no.
I like Anthony Miller over Allen Robinson.
Agreed with that 100%. I'd rather start Miller over Allen Robinson. However, I don't want to start either of them, to be honest.
I mean, Miller. So the Chiefs have given up big games to slot receivers. Mm-hmm. And Anthony Miller's been the wide receiver 5 over the past 3 weeks, wide receiver 13 over the past 5 weeks. So he's been extremely hot. I think if there's a pass catcher here, it's going to be Anthony Miller that's going to be the best one for you. personally. I'm sure John has something different to say because that's John.
No, I'm fine with that. I don't really want anything to do. I just don't want to throw a wide receiver up against that defense right now. They've just been absolutely shutting people down, just across the board in the passing game. But I agree. If I was going to take a shot, it would be with Miller.
I feel like Tariq Cohen might even have a better opportunity than both of those guys to have an all right day.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like here, I mean, people we talked about so far on the show: Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin, Tyler Boyd, DK Metcalf, Kenny Galladay. These are all guys I'm starting over Anthony Miller.
Yep.
I'd probably go with Miller over Galladay, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, at least all.
Sorry, man. Sorry. I hope for the best. I hope for your sake that that's wrong. But
I don't want to do it. You heard my options. You heard them. All right, next game. We got 2 more to cover here. No, only 1 more to cover here. Packers at Vikings. We talked about the Packers quite a bit. Over on the Vikings side, there's a guy called Mike Boone. I don't know if you've heard of him. What do we think about Adam Thielen?
I don't know.
He's a tough guy to gauge here.
Is King playing? I
believe he is.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily a good or bad thing. He is nothing.
Yeah, I think it's still a plus matchup for Thielen.
Yeah.
You have to start him in a championship week, in my opinion.
I would start Miller over Thielen.
I think I would too.
Yeah, just barely, but yeah.
They're together, honestly. That's probably where they are. They're together.
Yeah.
It's so tough with Thielen because I don't know, like, health-wise where he's at.
Right.
He hasn't been involved, or he was his first game last week. He did have 3 of 3 targets for 27 yards, but it was against the Chargers, who have been very good against the pass.
Yeah, I mean, Thielen's one of your studs. This comes down to the point: do you want to start one of your studs coming back from a long injury, or do you want to take a risk on a guy like, I don't know, Greg Ward? I don't fucking know.
Well, here's the thing against the Packers, that it's not consistent who shreds them, but they leave. The whole thing with giving up yards is they don't care about giving up short stuff. But on top of running backs taking them down, slot receivers and tight ends have occasionally just peppered them to death. I mean, I watch tight ends just take them to school. So Thielen would worry me there. If anyone's going to get taken out, I think it's going to be Diggs. So, but again, I just don't know how effective Thielen's going to be because he hasn't been the same. But, we talked about where he would be right around Anthony Miller. Who would you rather start, him or Michael Gallup?
Gallup.
Gallup or who? Who are we talking about? Thielen?
Gallup or Thielen?
Thielen.
Why are we saying Thielen?
Yeah, what happened?
He said Thielen. I said Thielen.
To be honest, I have cousins, right? My family has cousins, and their last name is Thielen, spelled just like Thielen, but we all pronounce it Thielen. That's how we pronounce it my whole life. And then Adam Thielen comes into the league, and I'm like, y'all are wrong. You're pronouncing that wrong.
Is this like the Tyrod versus Tyrod?
That's exactly like what it is. Yeah. So it's in my brain to just say Thielen, but everyone yells at me. Thielen.
Adam Thielen or Darius Slayton?
I'm taking Slayton for the ceiling play.
Give me Slayton.
Yep, Slayton.
All right, and Adam Thielen versus let's go with Kenny Galladay.
Thielen. I can't do it with Galladay. I just can't.
Yeah. Hey, who are you gonna start?
Like, if there's anybody that you're taking as like the biggest swing on, it's Galladay. Like, you're looking for like garbage time touchdown or a breakdown in coverage, and you get that 40-yard touchdown. Beyond that, like, it's really rough.
Make sure you call up your Broncos and tell them to beat us, because man, we need that second draft pick. I'm gonna be pissed if the Lions pull a Lions move and come out here and win or something like that.
I think Drew Lock's. We didn't even talk about the Broncos, by the way, but I think Drew Lock's. No, we did not.
Yeah, we did.
Oh yeah, we did, but we didn't talk about Drew Lock. I think Drew Lock's in for a big game.
I think it's gonna be the Philip Lindsay and Drew Lock show for sure. I just
want to be able to rub John's face in it.
I don't like Cortland Sutton all that much this week. Like, I think he'll be all right, but I'm not in love with everything that he's about to do.
All right, that does it.
By the way, Adams and Aaron Jones. Do we really need to talk about that side? Who's the other guy? Lazard is an okay play.
Yeah.
Don't play Jamal Williams.
I mean, I know you said
Aaron
something about
Jones
Aaron Rodgers
isn't-
earlier. I love Aaron Rodgers this week. I think he's going to have a good game. I would start him over Ryan Fitzpatrick. You guys all disagree with me.
Yep.
Yeah, I do disagree. I don't know about Rodgers this week.
Well, I think they must win a game. He comes up big in these big games. He tends to, although division games always are tough, regardless of who they are. Anyone wants to say anything before we sign off? How much they love Dion Lewis today?
Good luck, everybody. Have fun. Last legitimate week of fantasy football. If you have week 17 something or other, get out of that league.
Yeah, if you're on an ESPN standard league, what are you doing?
I think we're adjusting. I think we're adjusting it next year to like 0.5 PPR.
Man, there's a league still out there that plays standard.
Oh yes, I have multiple ESPN fantasy or ESPN redraft leagues right now that are standard.
All right, boys, it's past 1. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, everybody.
Later, bye-bye.
Happy Hanukkah. Didn't that start today? Happy Hanukkah?
I don't care.
I don't know. Someone has to explain me the days of that.
I don't really care about any of your religions. It's
dreidel. Okay. All right, bye, guys.
Sam ending the show right with I don't care about
screw you. Screw all of your holidays.
Good luck, everybody.
Only thing that matters is fantasy football.
Ew, that's my religion.
Bye, everybody. As I hit end broadcast, and then we awkwardly wait for it to actually end.